nobody objects, we'll get started. We're ready to roll here. Okay. Roll call, please.
Steingraber?
Yes.
Meek?
Yes.
Keo?
Yes.
Pinker? Myers?
Yeah, here.
Commissioner Myers,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to pull item 8 off the agenda this morning due to the weather. Recruit firefighter Beaver couldn't be here. Actually, I didn't want him to drive point.
Okay.
Introduction. So,
Thank you. Moving in the minutes of November 4th, 2002 meeting, special meeting. Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. I'm sorry, public comment period. Anybody from the public have anything to add? Welcome the mayor this morning
Thank you.
and her driver. Approval of minutes from the November 7th special meeting.
Move approval.
Motion by Andy. Second.
Seconded.
Steingraber. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Approval of minutes of November 10th, 2022 regular meeting. Motion approved.
I'll second.
Second by Pinker. Andy.
Andy?
Okay. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. And minutes of the December 5th special meeting. Motion approved.
Motion to approve.
Second. By Steve. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. President, I have a question. I would like Lori to report to the commission the number of hours she spent preparing the minutes.
We'll give that to you. We didn't talk that much, you wouldn't have to write so much.
I can say it's a lot.
A lot. Okay, Chief says a lot.
Probably in the hundreds.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Next time is fire service, law enforcement news updates. You've got some in your packet. Any questions or comments on them? If you have any questions or comments, what's presented in your packet? Anybody? Okay, we'll go on to the next item. Thank you, Bill. Approval of police department bills. Chief.
Thank you. Good morning. On your packets, you have two sets of bills. One was signed by Commissioner Meek on November 30th. The other was signed yesterday by Commissioner Myers. And looking over the bills, I really didn't see anything that stuck out, but I would be open to answer any questions. Otherwise, I would ask that they be submitted.
Any questions on the police department bills?
Just a couple of quick ones. On 10D, there's $1,401.07. Cradle, I don't understand that. What is that?
Sorry, Andy, I couldn't hear you. 10D like David?
Yes.
Was that the first, is it the first net cradle point?
Yeah.
That's our mobile service and our squads for internet.
I see. $1,400?
Yeah, for all of our squad cars and run the internet and stuff.
And then on 10F, you have $37,000 for a Jeep Cherokee Latitude Lux, does that last, is that an abbreviation for luxury?
I don't even really know, to be honest with you. That's the vehicle that we bought through the CIP as a replacement for that third squad car.
I see.
Lights in and the siren.
Does it have an AM FM radio?
It does have an AM FM radio, and I understand that it was heated seats, but I didn't ask for it. It was on the lot. We opted not to get the one with the sunroof.
I see, okay. I don't have any questions that are worth anything.
Okay, can I have a
When we get
motion?
to the fire department.
I have a motion to approve the police department bills.
Motion to approve.
Motion by me, second by Steingarten. Any questions, comments? Roll call.
Steingraber,
Yes.
Meek,
Yes.
Keel. Keel,
Yes.
Myers.
Yes. Bills are paid. Approval of fire department bills. Chief, morning.
Thank you. Good morning. We have two sets of bills, one signed by Commissioner Steingraber on November 30th and one signed by Commissioner Myers yesterday, December 14th. The only thing I saw in there that was out of the normal was on page 11C. Several of our officers, relief officers, are going to a new class for vehicle technologies. This will include electric vehicles as well. You know, a lot of those in the news and how to extinguish them and how to deal with emergencies with these vehicles. I'd like to also point out that this class was only $10 per person as being part of the Wood County Central Fire and Rescue Association. So it was a high value class for minimal amount of money. So really happy they're putting that on. I believe it's in February is when that class is coming out. So other than that, I didn't see anything else that was out of the normal, but I'd be happy to answer any questions. And
Any questions on the fire department bills?
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
In regard to the hybrids and electric vehicles, while attending this class, the people that did, do they come down to some kind of an average as to how long it takes to extinguish? Or that's not a real tangible item to figure out?
Time isn't really what they're going by. It's more of the massive amounts of water we have to put on the electric vehicles and the batteries to cool them and to make sure they're out. So it does take more time for sure because you're pumping a whole lot more water on it.
Any other questions on
Just a quick one. Pete, on 11C at the top, you got fire apparatus and equipment incorporated for $6,216 and some cents.
Yes.
That's a significant amount of money. When you talked about engine, is it engine 2 who's having the transmission pump issue? You found that by testing and the pressure wouldn't stay steady or whatever. How much do you spend a year on testing equipment?
I would say by the time you get done with all the required testing, so the Department of Transportation testing, your pump testing, your pump maintenance and vacuum tests, you're probably looking at roughly, and it depends on the vehicle too, as to how much maintenance there is and testing to do. So you're probably looking roughly between $2,000 and $3,500 per vehicle. Then that doesn't include the ladder truck. So anything with engine 3, engine 1, and engine 4 for that matter, because they both have aerial devices attached to them, that's another test that has to be done. And it's required by state to make sure that everything is in working order. So yeah, we're spending between I'd say roughly $15,000 per year, just on DOTs and all the required testing.
Given the bills that I've seen, I think it would be a little more than that. I just wondered, I mean, that's a significant expense. Thank you.
Yep, no worries. We do have $20,000 in that budget, but that also covers anything that they minor that they find wrong during the testing phase. Allows them a little bit to repair those things.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Any other questions on the fire department bill? I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Also move.
Motion by Andy, second. Steve Steingraber. Roll call, please.
Steingraber?
Yes.
Meek?
He's either really still.
He's in
Meek?
I think he's meditating.
Listen to music.
Keel?
Fire department bills.
Oh, here we go.
Meek?
Meek is back. We've got your back, Steve, if you can hear us.
He's having problems hearing us before. Steve, are you there?
We're not. No technology.
Okay, Andy.
Yeah, yes.
Okay,
Myers?
yes. Big technology, cool. Okay, police department activities, training reports, and correspondence package. Chief.
Sure, it looks like Steve's back with us.
Sorry about that.
Okay. This last month, there were a few things I'd like to point out. I guess number one is right on top of the list here is auxiliary. Our auxiliary had their 45th anniversary. This group of people are extremely dedicated to us. Mr. Steingraber was a member for quite a while, and been 45 years that they've been volunteering for our city. I thought that was awesome. The rest of the month, as Lori's well aware, was filled with meetings for budgets and things like that. So that pretty much, along with some training, wraps up our month. I'd open it up to any questions. Other than that, I'd ask that you submit those.
Let's see, did you get the message from Tinker? Okay, he said the police department report. Chief, please inform the commission that the sexual assault nurse examiner program has been moved to Marshfield. And he also has a note on here that says other area departments were not notified. Kern at Clark County said they found out through the news story. And Bill at Marathon County was not aware of the shift.
Yeah, I actually found out through the news as well that the sexual assault nurse examiner, or SANE, is no longer offered here in town. They moved that service to Weston. To my knowledge, and in reaching out with people in my circles, they also were not notified by the clinic that had happened. There's been several occasions where we have to go up to Weston or other hospitals due to the inability to get SANE nurses. So I'm sure that there's some problems with staffing with their facilities as well. But we weren't notified that happened, so it was kind of a surprise. Luckily, it didn't affect us. We didn't go up there and not have the service. It's just that it would have been nice to be notified.
I think that's something that's with a little communications with them that they could possibly try to get back here. I mean,
I hope. I really don't have many inroads into the clinic anymore. So
okay.
It would be something certainly that we could pursue.
Okay. I'll keep making an effort at that with it, please. I think it's important for the community to have that. All the communities around us. Any questions on the police department activities?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I have. On the 18th, there was an honors committee meeting. Has a date been set when that award ceremony, honors ceremony will be taking place?
We don't have a date set. To be frankly honest, we need to make sure we can afford it first. We're still going to have maybe a smaller ceremony or maybe interdepartment ceremony and still present awards. But to the level of what that award ceremony may be, we have to revisit.
Okay, thank you.
Please let us know so we can be present, because that's something we should be present for.
Absolutely.
Any other questions?
No, but I have a comment. I really appreciate the time that I served with the people from the auxiliary. They're a huge asset to the police department and to the city as a whole. And I think both present and past members immensely.
I would agree with that. I mean, we've got, past members of the auxiliary, Tom Wetzel, Alderman, came through the auxiliary on a, and then moved on to other things. So, I mean, if people want to know what happens and have a good heart, go sign up and serve. The time commitment is not that big. We do, I mean.
Okay, we'll receive those in place month file. Thank you. You have an announcement of a retirement.
I do. With mixed feelings, actually, I need to inform all that Assistant Chief Zepso has announced plans to retire. Pat has been with our department since October of 1997 and has filled roles, many roles over his 25 years of service. He's been a field training officer, lead officer, sergeant, lieutenant, and finally as the department's first assistant chief. Assistant Chief Zeps has also taken many additional assignments to include auxiliary liaisons, SRT, and he served every possible position in SRT, various boards, committees, and I'm sure a whole slew of things that I've forgotten. Pat's been a great supervisor to me, and also he's been a better person to supervise. He's one of the only ones that I've had the privilege to work under and also supervise. I'm sad to see him go. But wish him all the best in his next chapter. He plans his last day next Thursday, which will be the 22nd, and then use his remaining time off to officially retire on January 17th of 23. On Pat's behalf, I ask for your approval of his retirement.
Is there a motion to accept the resignation?
Make a motion to
Retirement.
approve with sadness that he does, because he has held this together for, I didn't know he was the first assistant chief, so being the first in that position, being something new, and having to do all kinds of new stuff. I mean, holding the line and keeping stuff going. I mean, he's done an excellent job.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay. That was second. I'd also like to add, Pat Zeps carried this department through some tough times. And I had either the fortune or misfortune of being the president at that time for a goodly part of that, after that period. And I don't think this department would have survived without the leadership that Pat provided. He kept everybody together. He was a good leader. He does a lot of stuff and doesn't expect a whole lot of credit for it, but he's always there. He was the answer to a lot of questions that I had with the departments and in the position that I'm in, and certainly made life a lot easier for me. And at the time, you have to figure he was doing both roles as assistant chief. Of course, he had help. The department has everybody that's willing to kick in when there are issues, and this latest issue was behind us, but that was a big part of keeping our head above the water during that time, and I give him a lot of credit for that. And I certainly do appreciate his service to the city. We have a motion and second to approve his retirement. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, roll call.
Steingraber,
Yes, with regrets.
Meek,
Yes, with regrets.
Keo
Yes.
and Myers.
Yes, certainly with regrets. We wish him well in his retirement. It's hard to do with a guy like that. Approval of promotion of Travis Esser, Chief.
Last month, we ran a process for the second assistant chief for our department. We had excellent candidates, both with Lieutenant Hamill and Lieutenant Esser that came through. Lieutenant Esser was selected for that position, did accept. That position would take place on January 18th, which would be the day after Assistant Chief Zepps retires. With your approval, I asked that we make Travis Esser the next Assistant Chief effective January 18th.
Your motion by me,
Second.
second by Steingraber. Any questions or comments? Excellent choice, by the way.
I agree.
Roll call, please.
Steingraber,
Yes.
Meek,
Yes.
Keo,
Yes.
Myers.
Yes. Congratulations, Travis Esser. Notification of the retirement of Police Records Specialist, Jim Carl.
Yep. Often our kitchen, 40 meeting kitchen. Oftentimes, the unsung heroes in our department are the ones who are the non-sworn and support staff that are typing a bunch of stuff that they don't want to type. And Debbie has been a rock in the front office for our department for 40 years. You know, shuffling papers, making sure that things get to the DA on time for prosecution, keeping things organized, entering things in our computer systems so we know if there's safety risks, a slew of other things that I'm sure I'll never understand. She informs me that she's worked under 8 different police chiefs during her time here. I'm hoping that in the time that she has left, that it'll remain at 8 with your help. She's trained a tribe of record specialists, a whole bunch of officers on how to use our record systems. We're lucky to be able to spend a little bit more time with Deb. She's actually going to be working up until February 25th of next year. However, with her handing in her letter, I felt that the commission should be informed as soon as I knew. She'll be kept on the books till about April 7th. So next year we'll be looking to fill her position as soon as we can fiscally afford it. Deb will be absolutely missed when she does finally leave. And I hope that she's able to spend time with her hobbies and travel without work getting in the way of those functions. So I, again, with mixed feelings, announced to the commission that Deb will be retiring. She'll be leaving the department in February, but officially in April.
And she'll be sorely missed.
She will be.
A lot of history there. Local and long distance phone call billing update.
Last month, Commissioner Meek asked that we look into long distance phone calls with the logic that, you know, if we have spectrum that we could bundle and possibly have some savings. I did reach out with our IT director, Ing. Ing explained that most likely the bundling aspect wouldn't work. And I have to admit that as many times when I talk with Ing, he's so smart, he talks over me. I trust he's telling me something that I understand that is true. I just don't know technology as well. But the short story is that the system that we have now has to allow over 200 phones and has 35 channels, and bundling with Spectrum probably wouldn't have the technology base to do that. And also with the way Spectrum works, it would be a significant increase in cost. He quotes us now at the $1,700 to $1,800 range, and Spectrum would probably be closer to the $4,000 level. So it doesn't look like this would be a real viable avenue for us to take to save any money.
Okay, any questions?
No, but thank you for looking into it. I appreciate the late work on it.
Thank you. And there's something in regards, the next item is in regards to law enforcement support office.
Yeah, formerly known as the 1033 program, or commonly known as the 1033 program. Lieutenant Hamill has handled this program and actually got us started with this years ago, and has acquired a lot of equipment that aids to our safety, and has gotten it at well, the only cost that it is to our department is actually just shipping. This is basically surplus military items that can be repurposed for law enforcement. But due to the fact that it is a governmental agency, sometimes there's some bureaucratic red tape that we need to go through, and part of that happens, periodically, which is why it's up now. There's no other reason other than they want to make sure that all the jurisdictions have support from their governing agencies to receive equipment from the 1033 program, or the Law Enforcement Support Office program. So there is a memo that briefly just explains some of the things that we've gotten. The biggest item that we've received from that is actually our MRAP. The MRAP is the armored vehicle that allows us to safely approach dangerous situations and really gives us a tactical advantage in those really scary instances where there could be active shooters or armed suspects in a barricaded area. We have received all these other things, everything from snowshoes to cold weather clothing to sights for our weapons. So I ask that you approve our continuing use of this program. We will take care of the necessary public notices if we are approved. I really don't see a downside other than having to go through the periodic red tape. Then I'd ask for your approval.
Move approval.
Motion by Andy, second. Grabber. And the recommended action by the commission is to obtain or participate in the LESO program and obtain the above stated controlled equipment if it becomes available. Are there any questions? Comments? Roll call, please.
Sungraber,
Yes.
Meek,
Yes.
Keo,
Yes.
Myers.
Yes. So the input that we got from Commissioner Panker was stay with the program. There's obvious benefits to the department and the public. Okay, so squad car design. Yeah, go ahead.
The squad car designs, this is really growing into quite a project. What I wanted to do is there's an unlimited amount of possible squad car designs out there. And what's in your packets, I'm not completely sold on any of them. I do like some, or at least the direction of some. And what I'm looking for basically at this time is only if there's any that the commission absolutely hates that we don't want to pursue, or if there's any that they actually like that we would like to pursue. We can change everything from coloring to designs to lettering, or all of those sorts of things. I'm not even asking for any answers today. I'd like you guys to review, and you can maybe, if you're willing to, reach out to me within a week or two and see if there's any that you absolutely hate or absolutely love, and we'll see what kind of consensus that we have and move forward. The ones that came from the school are outstanding. The kids really did a good job. They were actually focusing on just making one for school resource officers, which is cool, but all of the colors and things can be changed to match for the to match frontline squad. Or we could, it's kind of a neat idea to think too that we could have the school have a little bit of ownership and design the squad for the police officer in their school too. I'm open to all of those possibilities and just ask that you give it some consideration. Maybe reach out to me if you have a feeling one way or another that I should pursue.
Okay, so this is for information's sake what you're seeking.
Yep.
Concern input from.
Not to pick one of these designs, but to take a direction.
Okay.
Chief, is there a difference in cost for colors?
I don't believe that there is, Commissioner Keel. However, I haven't gotten to even the cost stage at this point. And that could be a mitigating factor in the future. But we do budget an amount as part of our CIP to stripe the squads. There's a good possibility that the cars that we have that we've just purchased this year's will not be striped. And we may start with the ones that we plan to have early next year. So we've got a little bit of time to put some together and get something that we really like. I want something that's going to be around for a while.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Fire department activities.
Forget about us.
Now you know how I usually do.
Well, you're on a roll. You always want to take this one.
Just wanted you to catch your breath.
Thank you. All right, just a few things to point out on pages, well, the entire packet actually, 19B through 19D. You'll notice we've had several job shadow students coming through as well as EMT students. Just like to point out that this is a good thing for us. This is how we were able to evaluate people when they walk through the doors, and they're able to evaluate our department. It's led to a lot of hires, but we're happy to have these students back in the station. For the month, the shifts concentrated on typical winter fire response activities as well as EMS training. But I'd like to point out that they've been busy training on carbon monoxide emergencies and chimney fire response for the month of November. On page 19C, we attended a meeting for a program called Ready Rebound. This is kind of a heads up for the commission that this is something that HR looks like they're going to be implementing, as it is a free program through the League of Municipalities. So what this does is it gets employees who may have been injured, even retirees, as well as family members, it gets them to a specialist in a quicker fashion than what's normal. A lot of these doctors are sports medicine specialists and are used to dealing with injuries that police officers and firefighters typically endure during their career. It's just to get them back to the job quicker. So look for that to be coming forward. I believe HR is going to implement this. It is a free program. They will work in conjunction with Health and Motion. That was one of the questions that I had. As you guys know, we have Health and Motion in both the PD and the FD, and they will work in conjunction with each other. So that was a good thing as well. Moving on to call volume for the month of November was about 10% higher than last November. For the year, we're still up about 16% as compared to last year. Again, on pace for about 4,100 calls over the year. On page 19K, you'll see we received our final quarterly hazmat reimbursement from the state. This is a grant that Deputy Chief Jody Clemens works on every year. That check was $2,078.15. Other than that, as Chief Goering mentioned, November was very busy with meetings and other things going on, but I'd be happy to answer any questions and ask that your posters report on that.
What's I see there's a on degree of training on EMS Flight Bridge. What's that?
EMS Flight Bridge is one of the online training programs we have. Specifically, Flight Bridge, we bought a one-year subscription last February 1st for the critical care aspect. Critical care paramedics need to do an additional 24 hours for the state. This program is actually, it's a 48-hour class that's it's a very good education. So the shifts have had pretty much from February 1st up until this next February 1st to go through the program and complete the 48 hours.
Any other questions on the fire department activities? If not, we'll receive those and place them on file. Thank you.
Thank you.
Budget resolution 13-200-2022 and 2023. Engine 2.
Good morning. That's going to be on my topic here. Engine 2 kind of falls under my purview, being in the fire prevention deputy chief position. I wasn't able to be here at the last PFC meeting. I apologize for that. The chief did a great job of presenting this information. The only thing that happened is we had a couple changes in between that time. One of the changes happened on Friday, and there was a couple things that we didn't understand with finance. We felt we could put it all under 13-2022 as far as the budget resolution. And when finance came back and told us we could not do that because some parts were billed in 2022 and the other repair would be in 2023. So those have to be two separate budget resolutions. In looking at that, we also found that there was a little bit more information updated from Red Power Diesel. The initial numbers were 6,190, and I think it came out to 8,836.90 as the current fees that are on the books right now. That would go under budget resolution 13-2022. And when we get to 01-2023, Chief had presented at the last PFC meeting, the 45,160 would be the fix that we would be looking to do with this. The reason I chose that option, this is a really complex engine as far as the center section of that pump. That center section all has to slide out as one. If we went with the less expensive option, which would be the 35,160, I believe is what the cost is on that one, or 35,175, there's absolutely no warranty with that. With no warranty, that means in 6 months we could have the same problem. And a bulk of that cost actually comes from pulling that center section out of the engine. When we feel that that's going to be a problem. The next fix, which was the 40,535, that's putting a new pump transmission in that apparatus. But again, this only gives us a 1-year warranty. We still have a 14-year-old pump on the other side of it. This all may happen. We may have to go through the same fix in 2 years or 3 years to pull that pump out and go after something that may be a problem there. So with this being a bigger operation or a bigger job, that's why the option of the 45,160, that's why that option was chosen. That chosen would mean that we pull that entire skid out, that center section, and they replace both the pump and the transmission. In doing that, that gives us a 6-year warranty. We have 10 years left on that apparatus. That one's going to be replaced in 2033. And that gives us at least 6 years of that 10 years that are going to be replaced under that warranty. Anything happens in that time frame, we have it covered under there, and that's going to wrap that under and take care of that part of it. So at the end of the day, I guess you'll find that in your packet at 28A through 20J. That's where the entire document is. There was an update done to the actual memo that went to Steve Barg. And in addition, there was one bill that was added to that, and you're going to find that under the current state of charges under 20G and 20H. And that just shows you what's all been done at this point. Pretty extensive troubleshooting that had to take place to try to get to this point. It was showing it was presenting a lot of different problems, and they were chasing those problems, and then it finally came out where they were able to look at the actual center section of that pump and the pump transmission. And that's what brought us to the 8,836. With that being said, I guess we'd ask for approval of 13-2022 and 01-2023 to be moved on to the finance, budget, and personnel meeting, and also to the council meeting.
If I may, Mike, just have two things real quick. This is basically what you approved last month, just for point of clarification we didn't have all the information at the time, so we probably advanced this a little further. That's my fault. And secondly, I'd just like to commend Deputy Chief Mueller on this project. It's taken a lot of time to get to this point. And he really went through the options and different options. And I think his opinion of moving forward with the more expensive fix, getting the warranties, the responsible choice, and moving forward with this project. So just like to commend him on that.
Yeah. Let's see, I need a motion to approve budget resolution 13-2022 and budget resolution 1-2023.
I so move.
Motion by Andy, second by Nick. Are there any questions?
I Do you want to specify the amount of each budget resolution?
If it needs to be in the meeting, yeah, we can certainly do that. I mean, those are hard, fast figures though, so that would be something.
Thinking that way we have the right figures going forward.
Okay, are there any other questions? Roll call.
Steingraber,
Yes.
Meek,
Yes.
Keo,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes. We'll move forward with that. Update on bonfire ordinance.
That one falls under mine as well. That was taken forward to the common council meeting. We had the first reading and second reading, and that was approved in its entirety. We should start to see that populated by January 1st into the municipal code. And that's something we can enforce between the police department, fire department, and public safety entities like there really was no questions with it. We felt it was a pretty straightforward ordinance. It's something we've done in the past within departments.
Okay, good. Thank you. Any questions by the commission on that? Bonfire ordinance?
No.
Okay. The next item is approval of the LifeQuest billing for fire billing.
Yep. Thank you. So as you know, as of January 1st, 2023, we are going to be billing for certain services that we provide. That's all been passed through this body as well as finance, budget, personnel, and council. So the next step was to figure out how we're going to get these bills out once we have these incidents. So we did hold a meeting between us and finance to discuss whether we're going to do this in-house. We also met with LifeQuest, who does our current EMS billing. After meeting with LifeQuest, finance, us, I think that was all I was involved. Steve Barg might have been part of that at one point as well, but we all met and decided that finance was very happy with the arrangements in the billing as it mirrors EMS billing. So they were happy with the terms and everything. As far as the fire department and the effects that it'll have on us as far as billing and getting these bills out, there's really nothing else we need to do. So it just makes sense for us to go with LifeQuest to do the fire billing. So I'm recommending that as of 1/1/23, we move forward with LifeQuest to conduct our fire billing.
I'll entertain a motion to approve going with LifeQuest for fire billing. Your motion?
Motion to approve.
By Steve Meeks. Second.
I'll second.
Andy. Is there any other type of billing that the department does besides what the new schedule?
Right. So the only thing we have left, it really is the inspection billing portion. We're still working through some contracts with, what is it, Fire Recovery USA. They are, Fire Recovery USA and our inspection program are basically the same company. They're linked. In our minds, it would have made sense to move forward with Fire Recovery USA to do the inspection billing because they know their program, it's all the same software. However, the contract, that company is originally from California. So the contract's been going back and forth between our lawyer and their team. And they haven't come to a resolution yet on that contract. We are looking, we did, PC Mueller and I did have a meeting with LifeQuest. They could do our inspection billing as well. As we look at it, it might be a little cheaper to go with LifeQuest billing as well. So we're weighing those options right now to figure out which one of those two companies we want to go with. I know it's approaching the first of the year rather quickly. However, with inspection billing, we probably won't start inspecting until mid-January. we don't bill until the second re-inspection. So that's going to take another month. So we do have a little bit of time to get this figured out yet. So knowing that fire billing could potentially take effect as of 1/1 of 23, we wanted to make sure we got that hammered out. And again, still working through the inspection. So other than that, the only other means of billing that we have are citations for certain fire-related violations.
Is there a reason that city finance doesn't do this? Part of their,
Yeah, so we talked with finance about it, and it would have required a significant amount of work both on our end and their end to not only generate the invoice on their end, but it would have taken us a significant amount of work to determine, say for false alarms, for that's just one example. LifeQuest will automatically track every time we've been at an address because we don't bill for that first false alarm. We only start billing at the second. So LifeQuest is able to track that without us having to do anything, and they're able to just, send that out. Whereas we would have to go through, if we had a false alarm in August, we'd have to go back through all of our fire records and determine if we've been at that address for a false alarm at that point. Whereas LifeQuest is going to take care of this for us. So if you figure time and effort on our part, it's probably cheaper to have LifeQuest do this.
I noticed there wasn't any dollar amount given.
It's just, yeah, it's the same terms as your EMS, so it's 5.9% is what they take when they administer their bill. And collections, I believe it goes up to 20% in that range if it needs to go to collections. So we're looking at 5.9% as their commission.
Okay. Okay, we've got a motion and a second to approve the use of LifeQuest for billing for fire department. Can I have a motion, please? Or we have a motion. Roll call.
Steingraber,
No.
Meek,
Yes.
Keo,
Yes.
Myers.
Yes. Motion passes. Okay, a comment from Mr. Bankers, he had no problem. Okay, move on with that. Discuss the approve the 2023 fire and police financial review schedule. It's in your packet. Anybody at this time have any problems with? Otherwise, it's for information sake. And we should approve it. Any questions? Entertain a motion to approve the financial review schedule.
Motion to approve.
Meek looks like he was seconding it.
You second that. Any questions? Steve.
No.
This could change in April or May, depending on who the commissioner might be. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And the next item is discuss and determine what the fire department and police department need for public safety referendum in April would be. We've got a note from the fire chief. Would you like to comment on that, please?
Sure. I'd like to start off with saying we were supposed to have a actually council was supposed to discuss this 2 different meetings. They moved that to 1. From what I understand, after attending last council meeting, is they are looking for a recommendation from this body to come forward at the meeting on December 20th. Moving on to our analysis at the fire department. As far as referendum needs, what we need are people. Our equipment's, besides engine 2 right now, our equipment's in good shape. I think we have everything we need as far as equipment is concerned. What we need are people to combat the increased call volume that we're experiencing right now. We are below NFPA 1710 standards for staffing, both overall total and per vehicle going out. NFPA 1710 standards state that you need 14 firefighters for a single family structure fire, 15 if you're putting up an aerial device. NFPA 1710 standards state that every rig going out the door as far as engines or aerial apparatus should have 4 people on them. Right now, even at full staff, we don't meet those standards with 11 personnel per shift. So I guess what we're looking at, and there's several charts on here, City Administrator Bard wanted us to come up with 3 different options. So the 3 options I have in here in my packet are 3 personnel plus turnout gear. Once again, it's expensive to outfit a firefighter with turnout gear. So that's one exception to the personnel that I think we need to add in here, because it's about roughly $3,500 to $4,000 to outfit one firefighter with 1 set of turnout gear. So I think it's important we include that initially. The first option is with 3 personnel and 1 set of turnout gear for each person. I've put in there how this is going to affect overtime, because that is going to be a factor, I think, moving forward. 3 personnel will basically put us up to the people we lost earlier this year. So put us at 12 per shift. As you can see, we'll have an 8-person minimum at that level. And when we send 2 ambulances out the door, which happens very often, in this department, we're already hiring back at overtime at our 8-person minimum. 3 ambulances going out the door happens also quite frequently, especially with the call line the way it is. You can see at even 10 personnel, we're grabbing at this point and restaffing the station. So although it's better than what we have, obviously, at 11 personnel, I don't think this is looking into the future at increasing call volumes. I've included a couple of charts. I think they're in the packet as well. If you go past the memo itself, you can see our call volumes in the packet here. It was on that first graph. You can see call volume has been increasing. And it was pointed out to me, or asked to me, by an older person to point out the exact point in time when to conducting interfacility transfers for the clinic system, the health system, as well as the intercepts. The rise in call volume was already occurring prior to us implementing that. Go on more calls. I guess that's why I included that second graph on page 24H. That is 911s only. You can see it's just a steady increase in call volume. And we're not the only department facing this, and this is going to continue for the next 20 years. So based on that, I included 3 personnel plus turnout gear. I don't think that's looking into the future. That's getting us back up to what we just lost for personnel. Now with the referendum, obviously we don't want to keep going back to the public every year to increase staffing. So I think we do need to look into the future. That's why I'd recommend one of the next 2 options. So at 6 personnel plus turnout gear, that'll put us up to 13 people per shift. A couple of the things that does is it does reduce overtime. We're able to increase our minimum staffing at that point to 9 personnel. So 2 ambulances out, even at 9 personnel, even if we send out, like I said, 2 ambulances at minimum staffing, we're not hired back for overtime at that point. That's one of the benefits. It does get us closer to NFPA 1710 standards. You'll see on the chart at the top of the page on 24, should have brought my glasses, D as in dog. At our max staffing, which doesn't happen very often because there are people on vacation, but it almost gets us to NFPA 1710 standards for staffing of rigs going out to station. This is the option that Wisconsin Rapids is moving toward right now. They are at 11 personnel. They are hiring 3 through SAFER grant, and then just adding an additional 3 personnel through the regular budget process. Like I said, they are a very similar department to us in size and call volume. This is what they are moving to right now. So put us on pace with them. The last option would be, again, looking toward the future. This would be adding 9 personnel. Plus turnout gear, it does sound like a lot. However, what we're really asking for is for the 3 personnel that were cut out of this year's budget to be replaced, and then asking for an additional 6. At maximum staffing, this would put us at NFPA 1710 standards for both initial response to a single family structure fire. And it would also put us in line with NFPA 1710 standards for staffing for fire apparatus. We would have 4 personnel on engine 3, 4 personnel on engine 1, 4 personnel on the truck, and 2 on the ambulance at maximum staffing. So it would put us at NFPA 1710 standards. It almost also guarantee us, I can say with this with a fair level of certainty, that we move to an ISO level 2 for the city of Marshfield. What this ISO rating does is it affects business insurance rates, homeowner insurance rates. It attracts new businesses coming into town because you're moving from, perhaps a ISO 4 or 5 to an ISO 2. It's going to greatly impact your insurance rates. Also makes us a more attractive community for businesses just coming into town. So that's one of the major benefits to the public, as well as having enough firefighters on the fire ground. We'll drastically reduce overtime rates by again increase our minimum staffing levels at that point to 10. And you can see on the chart at the bottom of 24D, even if we're sending 3 ambulances out at minimum staffing, we're only hiring back 1 person at that point, which makes a huge difference because almost daily, as of staffing levels right now, we're hiring back, we're bringing in people due to ambulance calls, multiple ambulance calls going out the door, just to restaff the station and get us back up to our minimum of 5 personnel. What 9 does for us as well is it will allow us to take more interfacility transfers and intercepts, which would again increase revenue. And it shares, it more evenly distributes the workload, I guess, of the increasing call volume, which is going to reduce our burnout levels of our firefighters, and it kind of spreads out the workload a little bit better than where we're currently at. So that will help with firefighter retention in the long run. Again, it seems like a lot to request, like I said. However, we're really looking to do at the 9 is get our staffing back up to what it was at the beginning of the year, and then add an additional 6 personnel. Another option, and Commissioner Keogh pointed this out, and Chief Gurink and I have been talking about this as well. Lori's spending a lot of time with the agendas. She's here late a lot. Her workload, we're trying to take some of the workload off of her because she just has too much to do. I guess what we'd like to see is a split full-time administrative assistant between the PD and the fire department to take some of the burden off of both of our administrative staff. It's a needed thing. Lori's been here till some nights 8, 9 o'clock, and doesn't sit well with me. She has a lot on her plate, so.
One thing, I think what we would look at is actually a record specialist, which would assist. It wouldn't be at the same pay grade that the administrative assistant is, but certainly able to take workload off.
Yep.
A little bit more economical. I think our department would be better off with a record specialist than an assistant and a half of an administrative assistant.
Yeah, at halftime.
Right.
And I'm not sure how that all plays out with
I think the best, we look at like what our schedule is at the PD for the officers is 1 week you work Wednesday or Monday, Tuesday, Friday. Next week is Wednesday, Thursday. So maybe Monday, Tuesday, Friday, the police department, Wednesday, Thursday, fire department. The next week would be exactly opposite. So we would, flip off. So each, be, a half time throughout the month, but spread in that week. Training could be a challenge. There's some things it's new, but I think a benefit for both of our departments and the city at large would be
even meeting minutes and things like that. I mean, it would take a tremendous amount of work off of.
And for us, just to catch up with the filing and the keeping up with records and things like that, we certainly, even to cover the windows so that other things could be done. There's just so many things we could do with an additional half record specialist.
So I guess what my options or my recommendation is for this commission is that we either look at the 9 firefighter paramedic positions plus a split office person, I guess I could say, instead of administrative associate. Or second option I would recommend is 6. Again, I think 3 is short-sighted. It's getting us back up to where we were. We do need additional personnel to handle this workload and call volume. So I guess that's my recommendation moving forward. I'd also like to point out that there is, Deputy Chief Mueller and I have another option in front of the lawyers right now as far as a fire protection fee assessment. We haven't gotten that back from HAP yet. So we are examining that on the side as well, just to see what that looks like. But as far as the referendum goes, those are my recommendations. I'd be open to any questions, comments, concerns, anything.
Yeah, a question from me. Pete, what have you got in front of HAP?
That would be the fire protection assessment fee.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
A lot of departments, I guess not so much in this state, but other states do. So what you do is you take a square footage of a home or a business, and you determine a rate at what it takes for us to fight a fire at their home or business. It more evenly distributes, it's a lot like a referendum, except it more evenly distributes the payments because you're looking at every structure. So that would include the non-taxable structures as well in the city. Because what you're saying is for your building, this is what, the rate is per your square footage. And this is what we need to protect your structure based on equipment, personnel, et cetera.
Okay. Now I have one other question, and it may be that Madam Mayor will be able to help with this. Does the council want alternatives that they can choose from? In other words, are they looking to be able to say, well, we've got 3, we want choice 2?
My understanding, yes. That's why we brought it forward back to you, because we can't make that decision because you're the ones that are doing the job. So we would like to have some options.
Do you also want a recommendation from us as well?
Yes.
That troubles me because you know that there are going to be a certain portion of the council that's going to look for the least expensive option. Others are going to be willing to look at other alternatives that cost more. You know, the decision, well, anyway. You know, if it were up to me, I'd send them one, and I'd send them the one for 9. And I'd maybe do 6 next year and leave 3 more to 24, 25. But if you send 3 and 6 and 9, those choices don't represent what the department needs.
Okay, Andy, I would say probably the 9 and the 6 would be the 2 recommendations. My feeling with listening to the council is they want more than just one choice so that they have the option to show the city. That's, I guess, what I'm thinking.
Yeah, they want the best choice and the second best choice. I don't understand sending them something that isn't the best we can do.
Again, I would 2 options are better than 1 because then they have that.
All right,
I guess
send them 9 and then send them a second option 6 with 3 more in 2 years.
I agree with Andy as well on that last statement, wholeheartedly.
But that's my thinking, and everyone else is going to have to say what they think about it.
So you have idea?
I do. I mean, when I saw 6 and 9, I was kind of confused. I get where you're coming from, and I also too, I'd love to be there. I don't know that the public is going to stomach 9. That's kind of, I mean, because the messaging so far has been 3 fire first, 3 fires for 3 fire for 7. It's like, oh, it's 6, oh, it's 9. Losing the football, what's going on? If they're not paying attention, the messaging is going to be muddled. I mean, it depends on what we want to do this part for them. Do we want to fill the bucket to status quo, or are we making the bucket bigger? Is this the climate where they're going to vote for something big? I don't know. That's going to depend upon what we do. That's kind of what I'm seeing here. You know, ISO 2, I'd love it. I would love it. I mean, do the things we got to do when everybody's insurance goes down. But that's a future benefit, which we're talking to Alderman Witzel's comments news here. What's in it for me? Well, that's a what's in it for me, but you can't quantify really what does that mean. That's a harder picture to paint. It's definitely worth painting. You know, I would almost be more responsible to say, hey, we can make a case for this, but we're putting this middle road for you. So it's just like, we could ask for this. This is the best option in the middle. That might be the most responsible way that the commission could go for. You know what I'm saying? That way it's like, if you get, and it looks like there's the data to back it up, but to not be in this tax climate, in this economic climate, grabbing beyond our spurs, I guess. So that's what I'm concerned about.
Everything you just talked about is exactly where my head was at when I was creating this memorandum. We need 9, but my worry is exactly what you pointed out.
There's nothing to say that in 3-4 years we can't revisit and then show another 4 years of increased call, and it'd be not much different than the referendum of having 6 now and 3 in 2 years. Right. You know, I think that the public would be more willing to revisit this after 3 or 4 years and showing more data that's actual and real, not pursued.
Yep.
And that half record specialist, I mean, not that we love Lori at the meeting, but if there's other things you need to do, having a half record specialist to bridge the two departments, have another connect between the two to see both sides and to help get our messaging. I mean, who knows, that could end up being social media or something, or some kind of,
There's so many,
you know, I mean, honestly, having
it would
a,
actually open our department, open up possibilities for that other people are, like our community officers doing a lot of record keeping stuff, and they need to because our records are barred. Have somebody take that load off, our community officer can focus on community officer things, and it's just, it would be a world of difference in our department.
Oh, yeah, I mean, if we had that halftime person or a split person to just do the commission,
right.
I mean, oh my goodness sakes.
Well, I mean, just to get the information, because I like the fact that Lori gave with some of the previous staffing studies. Like, I mean, the gals will find stuff for us, but when we're asking them, we're asking things above their normal job duties, but we need the information to fight this battle, you know? So, I mean, yeah, I mean, to take the load off and for normal operations as well as making sure we have what we need, you know? I don't have a problem with that.
Well, you know, Bill presented some ideas of 9 firefighters plus turnout gear is the first choice. Meets the NFPA standards. 6 firefighters plus turnout gear is the second choice. It is possible that this may be the more realistic option, but 9 can be justified. And he said the shared administrative associate must be included with either option. Is what we're noting. And as far as I'm concerned, I think we need 9. It could be justified. But if they're looking for something to choose from, then I like the idea of maybe going for 6 initially and 3 more next year. Make it more, I don't need to make it more palatable. It's a easier pill to swallow, but it needs what we need. And if I were firm in my convictions, I would say just go for the 9 and present them with information on the 6 and the 3.
Mm-hmm.
So you did the homework. This is what we were looking at when we decided to do 9. Mm-hmm. And let it stand by itself. I don't need to stand up to them, but this is our concern. But we need the money to do it. So I guess
Yeah, you know, I don't need to remind everybody that our job in the statute is to represent the interests of the citizens of the city in matters dealing with the police and fire department. And I think that obligates us to represent the best interests of the departments. And the best interests aren't 6, the best interests are 9. So one way or another, I think we need to say to the council, you know, you got to do what you got to do. Your interests aren't quite the same as ours. Ours are pretty focused, and 9 is the best choice. I mean, it just is. Whether we get it all at once or whether we get it over a period of 2 or 3 years, you know, whatever. But I'm not willing to go to the council and say, 6 is just fine. We're grateful for that. Do the best you can. That's not the best interest of the police and fire departments. I'm supposed to say what I think is best for them. I'm not supposed to say, here's the mediocre choice. That drives me nuts.
well, and this being a referendum, it's not the council that's really going to be choosing. They're going to be choosing what the question will be on the referendum. So I felt all along that maybe this could be a 2-point question for the citizens, and that could be very easily be addressed by saying 9 firefighters and administrative assistant, and then have a second option for the public to pick from. Choose one. The second option would be 6 this year plus administrative assistant, and 3 next year, and let the citizens decide what they want to do. But as far as giving the council some information as far as what they can pick for the referendum itself, like I said, we've given them what you've looked at as what our options are, but we have to be very firm in the conviction that we need the 9. And no matter how we get it all at once, or we get 6 next year and 3, or 6 and 3 the following year.
And that would be the options, absolutely.
And then, but I could see them usually putting both options on the
Correct.
referendum.
And that would make the most sense
Let Joe
because,
public pick what they
yes,
want.
because this is the public's decision.
Right.
We're just there to help move it forward.
Facilitate the referendum.
And by just giving one option, it's gonna be like, this is it.
Yeah.
So at least if you have 2 options on the referendum, the public gets to decide.
Right.
It's not the council, it's not you guys, it's the public, because they're the ones that own it.
We're telling them what we need.
Correct, correct.
And you're.
Yes, and
you're
what you've
helping us by
explained
finding out what they
is
want.
perfect.
Just my only concern with having the 2 options is there's going to be a third option, which is no. So if you have the 2 yes options and that's split, let's say that's split 30-30, that means there's 40% that are no. So in all actuality, you'd have 60% saying, yeah, we need more staffing, but there was they couldn't decide on how many, or not decide, but there was a split between how many to decide. So really you have 60% of the people saying, yeah, we agree, let's staff your department, but they couldn't, there's a difference between 9 or 6. The 40% is going to win.
Is it possible to have a yes or no question? Should we get additional staffing? Of however it needs to be worded. Second question, specifically, which option should we do?
I think it was so split.
Yeah, because they gotta pick.
Yeah. Except you don't have that no option. If it's a referendum, it's stated, should the fire department do this or should they do that? It's one or the other. And then it's either 9 or 6 and 3.
Okay.
And their option is if they don't want to, they won't vote on it because they don't have a yes or no.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I don't know. I didn't know that was legal. I thought they would have a choice to.
It's like when the schools will use it for an example because they do one every year. They say, should the schools exceed their budget by $1 million again for the coming year? They don't say yes or no. They just say should, and the no would be they don't vote in favor of it. If I understand. Or my option.
I thought it was a yes or no question because you got to have a no. Steve's looking away in.
Okay, Steve.
Yeah, I lost connection for about a minute, so I might repeat things and I apologize. My feeling overall is to go for the 9, like Andy had mentioned. Even if it's a 2 or a 3 year increment, to add the additional 3 on top of the 6 that I would put with initially coupled with the administrative associate in shared PD records specialist. I think that it promotes safety to the community, safety to the department members, response time, having enough manpower on scene. The callbacks for overtime will be lessened, saving the city money potentially. The increase in transfers and intercepts will create more income potential. I just think it would be better overall for the safety of the community, coupled with the fact that the city attorney is looking at the public safety tax. If I got the wording correct on that, that may come along the way if it all, if it can be implemented, that too will help. So I'm hoping that we go with the 6 and then the additional 2-3 years after that for a total of 9 plus the administrative person.
Well, I guess then if that's your charge, then that's your recommendation, because that's what we're looking for is recommendation.
Commissioner Myers, really real quick, if you look at page 24J, I've included, this is from Administrator Barg, he included options for referendum language. In the way this is worded, I'm sure it doesn't need to specifically be this, but I look at the second sentence that says, shall the city of Marshfield be allowed to exceed this limit and increase blah, blah, blah. To me, that's saying, should we increase it? Or a no vote would be, yep, we're not doing it. So to me, it's a yes, no question. Which brings me back to my initial concern is that if we offer two options to increase staffing, that those could be split and it could be the majority, but the no votes would win because and I don't know if this is the only wording, Mike, or not, but
Yeah.
this is sample wording that.
I'd love to see what Chippewa and Eau Claire and those guys that they successfully ran them, what their wording was.
It's just like this. These are the successful wording pulled directly from those that I think it was 17 out of 20. Got it.
Okay.
Passed.
Well, then I could see a motion that would state that our number one preference is 9 plus 1.
I like the way the police departments needs to though.
Pardon?
We need police department needs added to the referendum too, if we're suggesting.
Yeah. And those would be,
We need at least we need one police officer, one record specialist, well, 1.5 record specialists. Because with the budget cuts that we have right now, I can't fill position when Assistant Chief Zeps retires. It's going to be very difficult. I have to find a way to fill Debbie Carl's position because there's only 3 record specialists up front, and we need an additional 1/2 record specialists. That's to get us back to our baseline to where we are right now. And I feel that staffing is appropriate the way it is right now. We don't have the numbers from federal numbers unrecommended or anything. We have recommendations. And we try to stay within that 2 to 2.5 officers per 1,000. We're at about 2.1 to 2.2 right now, which is pretty comfortable. A lot of departments or most departments are in that 2,000 other population. We're a little bit higher when we're full staffed. Partly because of the great increase during the workday with what the clinic brings in, and also at night we're kind of the destination city in this area for quite a radius. So if we could get back to what our staffing is now, 40 sworn officers, and then the 3 record specialists plus 1/2, I need to do that. Without it, I'm going to really struggle.
all right. Of the 4 items that were provided for possible language for the public safety referendum, Commissioner Pinker prefers option 2A. The second option would be option number 2. It's tough on how to present this. Of course, whatever we go to the council with would have to include the dollar amounts that we were provided for additional fire personnel, and you'd have to provide additional costs for additional personnel. I still think we should just go with one option to present to the council. I don't know how everybody else feels about that. Being this is a yes and no deal.
I think a meter to increase if 9 is the direction, the 6 and a 3, 6 plus 3 would be the better, more palatable version to the citizens. That way it's not jumping.
immediately, you know?
Yeah, my first inclination is to dig in and say we need 9 plus. But you're right. 6 and
Can the
3.
council change the recommendation?
Well, they're gonna pick whatever they want. They just want to know how we feel about
Correct.
it. And hopefully they'll go along with our recommendation. I mean, just might work that way, but it's at least we're helping out. We're being a partner in this with them and finding what we feel is most important. And really the 6 and 3 is a little bit easier one to.
I agree.
It's still gonna be hard selling it to the public, but if it's presented the right way, we're a little bit ahead of the game. I wish it was just, should we do this or should we do that? With no, if they don't want it, then they don't vote on it. Somebody has a motion in mind as to which one, I'm leaning very strongly towards 2A. And fill in the spaces with the dollar amounts that they need to make the decision.
Wish Bill had been here to give us some input on what he heard from the guys on the shift. Did he get in here, do you know, Chief? Okay.
I think the only shift he didn't hit was red.
But I was able to go to 2 for the 2 night shifts and shift 1 yesterday. Didn't get to see shift 3 of the detectives yet, but I mean, you know, those guys are cross section. There's some mixed opinions there. I mean, you know, some of them are like, hey, let's just fill the bucket, not try to go bigger. Some guys are like, hey, there's things we could need. Some guys are talking about vehicles and other things. You know, I mean, I don't know. I mean, but ultimately, it's just chief's recommendation for what we need now. So.
Was that the PD?
Yeah, I went to the PD, yeah, talked to those guys, so. But that's the service the public sees. They don't see all the maintenance of everything. They see officer on the doorstep on the call, you know, which I didn't know. Apparently we have a policy that if you call and want to talk to an officer, you talk to an officer. Is what I'm understanding. Is that right, Chief? So somebody told me.
I have to look, that's, doesn't seem right. I certainly have to look.
But it seems like that's the general practice. If you want to talk to somebody, you get something. Okay. Just the stories I've been hearing. I mean, it wouldn't shock me that every effort is made, you know.
I don't think it's good practice to not answer calls.
Get to them tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, so, yeah.
Well, I find the funny thing is when people call me and I call back. You actually called me back? Honestly, I've had 4 calls in the last month and that was the first response. So that, yeah.
I mean, speaking of response too, if I might just add to anybody watching or whatever, right now with our current staffing is and I mentioned this at previous commission meetings, I just want to reiterate it. We're cutting it razor thin almost on a daily basis as far as being able to keep another ambulance in service. Like I said, the overtime calling not only saves the city money, but it keeps more people in-house to be able to respond to those calls. It keeps more people in-house to be able to fully staff a fire response. Right now, I've got a couple of examples sitting on my desk. I wish I would have brought them in here, but those examples state that, you know, 3 ambulances went out within a very short period of time, and this happens often, believe it or not, or 2. And it puts us down to a point where we've got 2 people sitting in the station looking at each other like, what are we going to do here if fire call comes in? And we're talking, that's your deputy chief, your shift commander, and probably your lieutenant. Another ambulance gets toned out, those 2 are out the door, we've got nobody in here, unless it's during the middle of the day when daytime staffing is here. So we're running into those situations right now. This is happening. And adding 6 or 9 people adds 2 extra staff back in here to staff an ambulance, staff at least a fire engine rolling off the door on a fire to at least get there and begin operations. So this is huge for us. It really is.
And even adding 9 this next fiscal year, it's going to take half a year to get through the first hires because you can only train some people at a time anyway. So 6 and 3 is a more reality version of that anyway, probably, right? Because it almost won't be fiscal next year before.
Yeah, we wouldn't see this until 2024, so we're still gonna have to get through 2023 with our current staffing.
Can you train 9 firefighters at one time?
We can make it work. We can make it work. We just went through a period of time here this year actually, where we had 2 probationary firefighters on each shift just due to retirements and resignations.
I have a question. Mike, you said your choice would be 2A?
Yeah, and Bill mentioned that that would be his first choice also.
Where are you getting the 2A?
24J.
Page 24J.
Oh, you're talking about those. Oh.
I feel consensus might be the 6 and 3 and the additional personnel that's needed in the police department.
1 police officer, 1.5 record specialist.
The record specialist, I don't want to say it's not a big deal. It certainly is, but I don't think it's going to be a big deal to voters. The amount of money is relatively small compared to the rest of it. You can't do it separately, so it's tied into everything, I understand. And I wouldn't say 6 this year and 3 the next year. I'd jump a year, 6, whatever year you put, and then skip out 2 years for the next 3. I would think to a voter that would feel a little more plausible. But I really do think, to do anything less than 9 is saying to the people of the city, we don't need 9. I think, to be honest to the citizens, you say, look, we've looked at it, we've talked about it, we've run the numbers, we've done everything we can do, and we come up, the fire department needs 9. The police department needs 1 sworn officer and 1 record specialist. And that's our best judgment. Now you got to decide whether you want or don't want. Anyway. Okay, I move whatever and vote yes.
I move whatever and vote yes. Wow. This meeting would go a lot faster if we could just do that.
Do you do whatever you want, Chief? Okay.
Done.
To be more specific.
Steve Newcastle.
Steve Meek, go ahead.
Oh, I just caught something. I'm sorry about the PD and the referendum in there. That's why I want to make sure that that's there. I do have a question for the mayor. As far as this public safety tax, or however it's worded, is the city attorney looking at the legality of it or the process, or can you share that publicly or not?
I can answer that for
Thank you.
Madam Mayor. This is something very initial phases that we've seen other departments do. We've ran it past City Administrator Barg, and currently HAP is looking at the language to see if it's even legal in Wisconsin, for 1, and 2, to see if other cities in Wisconsin are doing this. So again, it's in the very early stages, but council asked us to look for other options as well. So we're just doing our due diligence and looking at other options that council has asked us to, I guess, look into. So to answer your question, Steve, I don't even know that Mayor T. Strake even knows anything about this at this point.
Okay.
Is that options to the referendum or just other options to gain revenue?
It's options to gain revenue. It can be done through ordinance, and it would be something that'd be voted on by the common council, but it also could go to a referendum. If there was enough, I guess if there was a petition put forth, then it can go to a referendum as to whether we do it or do not. So there's still a vote in it.
Could go either way.
Well, Andy made a motion.
Yeah, Mike, I don't know that I have the wording for a motion, but basically the motions that say that we're saying to the council, we would like a referendum that calls for 9 new firefighters, 1 new police officer, and a split record specialist. That'd be choice 1. Choice 2 would be 6 new firefighters in the coming year, 3 more a year out or 2 years out, 1 police officer, and a split administrative staff.
Plus 1.5 record specialists.
Actually, it's another full-time plus a half-time specialist.
Well, all right, that's fine. No,
That's what you got.
Yes.
the police department needs a full-time to replace a retirement.
Right.
And they would like to have another half-time that would split with half-time at the fire department. Is that correct?
Right. Yes.
All right. So whatever the motion says, it should be 9 or it should be 6 and 3, and then the police department and their record specialist, and then the split.
That's a good motion.
I have a quick question on that, if I could. Does that include turnout gear? Are we
Plus
including?
turnout gear, right, Andy?
Yeah, put it in there, sure.
Plus equipment.
And I think new spittoons would be a good idea.
Our custodian would appreciate it.
I don't know if we need hard fast factor.
So that's a motion. Is there a second?
Steve Meeks waving his hand.
Can I interject something? That should possibly include the equipment and uniforms for the new officer as well.
Right, yeah, plus equipment. Okay.
Anyway.
Is there a second to that motion?
It's gonna-
The motion is for 6 plus 3 or 9? Which one are we doing?
There were 2. There were
Choices.
9, and then the second choice would be 6 and
6
3.
with 3 coming down.
I will second that motion.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments? Roll call vote.
Steingraber,
Yes.
Yes,
Keel,
Yes.
yes.
Myers.
Yes. Hey, hopefully you got what you need, Mayor. And if they have any questions, I'm sure the chief will be there to answer them. I'll be there.
Mike, before we quit, I want to thank whoever arranged this Zoom meeting, whether it was you and Pete or whoever. I don't think I could have made it out of the driveway. And I appreciate that very much. And the second thing, Mayor T-Strake, I don't think you can appreciate the change in the atmosphere, the vibrations. I don't know what it is. Having you at these meetings makes a big difference, and I appreciate it a lot.
Well, thank you. And I obviously here to move things forward with the city, and I'm very proud to be here.
Andy, right after you called, Steve called and said he probably wouldn't make it. Then we got a message from Banker this morning that said he wasn't going to be able to make it. So it worked out for everybody.
Yeah, good. I'm truly glad.
Setting up Zoom is not typically a hard thing. We had some minor issues this morning, but typically it's pretty easy.
Okay. All right. Let's see. The one other thing in our packet was the tentative regular meeting dates. So I put that on your bulletin board at home. It's been helpful to me this last year because the dates are where they fall after a council meeting. So are there any items to add to future meetings at this time? Okay, seeing no objections, we're at the end of our schedule, so we can adjourn this meeting if I don't get any objections. We're adjourned.